Yo, what is going on, guys? This is Beanie. Welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be talking about the best budget players in MLB The Show 18. How you can build a really good squad that can be competitive in ranked seasons without having to break the bank or do a ton of work or win Battle Royale or any of that. You can build this team for less than, say 30,000 Stubbs, and I'm going to give you a lot of options. It's not going to be just like a 25-man roster. I'm going to give you a lot of options. You can see who you like best, and you can put together a 25-man squad out of that. So let's go ahead and get into the video. At catcher was probably one of the more difficult positions to find balanced budget talent on, but I decided to go with one of these being Jared Saltalamacchia, the 75 overall Jared Saltalamacchia. You acquire this card through his program. You are going to have to do some exchanges. You're going to have to exchange some catchers and some Red Sox equipment, but in the end you will get a very, very solid righty hitting catcher that plays decent defense. He's not going to hit lefties all that great, so we got to find a platoon for him. So let's go and find that platoon right now. For his platoon, I can't talk right now, I picked Wellington Castillo, who hits lefties very good, and he's also no scrub against righties, and his defense isn't terrible by any stretch, and you can pick up this card for 800 Stubbs. First base has a plethora of options that you could go with, but this Edwin Encarnacion card is just absolutely fire. He has a ton of power, and as you guys know, power is a little bit more important this year because they kind of nerfed the power down, so it's in high demand. Anytime you can get a lot of power, go for it. Even if they don't have the best contact or vision, the PCI is so big this year that you can work with it. You just want a guy that has great power. Now, his defense is on another level of bad. It is awful. I mean, it is really bad. So don't expect him to make quite a few errors over at first base, but since he is a first baseman, it probably shouldn't hurt you too bad. But if you wanted a little bit of better defense, you can go with this Justin Smoak card. He's a switch hitter. He hits both sides of the plate very effectively. He's got power, and he's a much better fielder than the Edwin Encarnacion card. And he is going to cost a little bit more. He's going to cost 1,300 Stubbs, so just keep that in mind. But if you want to go with someone from these programs down here, this Sean Rodriguez card is turning into one of my favorite cards in the game. He's almost definitely my favorite silver card, and he is an absolute monster at the plate. He's pretty reminiscent of that Justin Smoak, just a right-handed version of him. He doesn't have terrible defense. He's not going to be all that fast or anything, but he can play basically every position on the field except for pitcher and catcher. He has a tremendous amount of utility on the field, and you can play him anywhere. This is a card that I definitely recommend going out and getting, even though you're going to have to exchange some pirate stuff and some first baseman. I think that this 78 overall Sean Rodriguez card is worth it, and in fact, I think that he is a card that could be he's not going to be irrelevant later on in the year because of that utility and the fact that he can hit both sides of the plate pretty effectively. At second base, we can start with another program card. This is another guy that you're going to have to do some pirate stuff in second baseman to get, but this 74 overall Neil Walker is a very good, solid hitter. He has really good contact, really good vision. His power isn't fantastic, but it's kind of average-ish. And he's only a 74 overall, but he's also a switch hitter that can also play third base. So he has a little bit of positional versatility, and being a switch hitter hitting both sides of the plate basically equally, that has a lot of value that it's sometimes kind of hard to see whenever you just look at the raw stats of the cards. I think he's a really good option. But there are some better options that you can go with at second base, and those include this Cesar Hernandez card. Cesar Hernandez has much better defense with the walker than the walker. He's also a switch hitter. He has better contact, better speed, but you're going to be giving a little bit in the power department. So, kind of decide what you value more. Up the middle, you might want to value defense and speed a little bit more and kind of go for that contact boost, and you may be willing to sacrifice a little bit of power to grab him. And also, there is the option to go with DJ LeMahieu, who is even better defensively and better in contact, but he also lacks that power that the Neil Walker has, and he's also not going to be as fast as the Cesar Hernandez. So it's all about what you want at second base. There are a plethora of cheap options to go with. And at third base, there is no shortage of options either. Third base, this Miguel Sano card, he's going to cost a little bit more. He's going to cost 1,200 stubs, but you are getting an absolute monster at the plate. 83 power, 87 power, decent contact. His vision is a little low. He has a cannon from third base, so if he makes the play, he can make a lot of those plays, down the line where he's just chunking the ball over to first base. He'll get a lot of those outs for you that some guys might not get. Overall, just a fantastic player. And then if you don't want to go with him, there's this Jed Jerko card, who is also an extremely good hitter for a 76 overall. His fielding is going to be about the same as the Sano, but you're not going to get the arm strength. So it's probably in total, it's probably going to be a little bit worse. He also doesn't have great speed, so you have to factor that in as well. But once again, he is just a really good hitter. And then, obviously, there's everyone's favorite. I know I would get thrashed if I didn't put this guy on here. But obviously, if you want a lefty at third base, you can go with this Jake Lamb card. He's very, very good versus righties. He's not as good as he has been in the past, but he's still a really solid option. And at this point, he's basically a meme. So I don't think I could put anyone else other than this Jake Lamb here. And then there's also a program option if you want to go with it. It's once again, it's another Pirate. You got to be stacking up on that Pirate equipment, but it's the 78 overall Pedro Alvarez, and he is a monster against righties, and he has better defense than the guys that we mentioned before, but 104 power versus righties. He is going to be destroying the ball for you. You will need to get a platoon, so maybe you might want to invest in Alvarez and then maybe Sano or Jerko, but against righties, you're going to be fine defensively and offensively. So very interesting card there with Pedro Alvarez. At shortstop, here's another personal favorite of mine, Emilio Bonifacio. Very good contact, decent vision, no power at all, really. He has pretty bad power, but he's solid in the field. He has 91 speed, and he can play basically anywhere on the field. He's a excellent utility option. This might be a guy that you want to stick on the bench and have him subbed in to pinch run or as a defensive substitution late in the game if you have a really bad defender somewhere or something like that. This guy has a ton of utility that can be utilized. He is a program card, so you'll need to get some Marlins equipment and stuff like that, but I think he is worth it. That speed is just undeniable. But if you don't want to go with Emilio Bonifacio, there are some other options at shortstop, particularly this Paul DeHong card. Everyone, the young card, I'm sorry, I keep pronouncing his name wrong. Everybody at this point in the game kind of knows about this card. For a 78 overall silver, he is mammoth at the plate. 77-76 versus righties, 77-82 versus lefties. Very, very solid. He's not a great defender, but not a terrible defender. He's got 63 speed, so he's not going to be a hindrance on the base paths or anything. Overall, just a very, very solid card. And then another one that you could go with that I don't like quite as much is this Yunel Escobar card. He has some positional versatility, some good contact, not a lot of power, and he's going to play a little bit better defense than the young card. So, just kind of keep him in mind. In left field, this Chris Davis card is a monster. He's kind of like that Edwin Encarnacion in the fact that you aren't going to be getting great contact or vision, but you're going to be getting a ton of power. And, as I said, you can kind of get by this year without great contact or vision if you're pretty good with your PCI. And if you get this power, he's going to be hitting a ton of home runs for you. He's not great in the field. He is going to be kind of a liability out there in left field. But if you want that power, you're going to have to sacrifice something. something, and I think that this card is probably worth it. And then there's another guy who is kind of under the radar right now, but oh my goodness. This Trey Mancini card, defense is going to be even worse than Chris Davis. It's not going to be good at all. But there is good news. You can stick him at first base if you want to, and oh my gosh, look at those hitting stats for a 75 overall silver, 80, 83, 68, 68 with 56 vision. Mancini is a guy that can also continue to produce and get better as the year goes along, so you could see those hitting stats go up, and if they do, this could be one of the more valuable left fielders in the game, so definitely keep Mancini in mind. Another guy that I think deserves a mention is this program Ryan Rayburn card. He's very versatile, can play first, second, third, or anywhere in the outfield. He's a solid hitter versus both sides. He's kind of weird in the fact that he hits righties for contact and lefties for power, but he also has good vision. His defense, once again, for left field, it's going to be tough to find good defenders, but he's not great, but he provides a lot at the plate that the other guys don't, plus a lot of positional versatility, so that could be a guy that you could go after and stick him on your bench maybe. Center field has a lot of options, and to be honest, none of them are really all that great, but they all kind of bring something different to the table. This Danny Santana card has great contact, not a lot of power, but he has some speed. He's also not great defensively, but you can stick him at shortstop or any of the corners if you want to, any of the corner outfield spots if you want to. He's also a switch hitter, so that adds a little bit to his versatility. So that's a card I kind of like. And then another program card is this Drew Stubbs card. If you're looking for a speedy guy that has better defense, you can go with this guy. He's a righty. He doesn't hit righties great, but he's not just a complete dud versus righties. And then against lefties, doesn't have great contact, but has very solid power. So this could be a very interesting guy to stick on your team. It's kind of a five-tool type of guy. He has a good arm, good glove, good speed, and he, probably the only thing that's lacking is a really good hit tool, but I think you can get by with that. This is a very intriguing card that you could maybe go after, maybe one of my favorites of all the center field options. And then everyone's favorite cheese machine, Billy Hamilton, is back again this year, and he still has 99 speed and terrible hitting with fantastic defense. You know exactly what you're getting with this card. He's a fantastic fielder with unbelievable speed, but you're gonna have to try to figure out ways to get on base with him because he has no power. He's not a great contact hitter or anything like that. All the value you're getting out of this card is through his speed and defense, and if you can get on base with him, oftentimes it's an automatic run because you can easily steal second and third, but getting on base is going to be the problem. So if you think you can, pick up this Billy Hamilton. However, there is another option for the speed and the defense, and that is the 78 overall Byron Buxton card. He's a bit of a better hitter than Hamilton with 57-50 power, and this is also a guy who is a former top prospect with a lot of upside. So if he continues to hit like he did last year, you can see those hitting stats start to go up, and if they get into like the 70s or something, look out. This might be one of the best cards in the game because he has 94 fielding, 91 reaction, and 99 speed. He is going to be able to cover more ground than probably any defender in the game. He doesn't have a terrible arm, not a great arm, and his hitting stats aren't great by any stretch, but if you're looking for that speed guy that Billy Hamilton is, but don't want to sacrifice as much hitting as you need to, this Buxton might be the way to go. And then finally, I think he deserves a mention, this Odubel Herrera card. He doesn't really do anything great, but he does a lot of things fairly well. He's got decent contact. I haven't talked about a lot of lefties so far. He's a lefty hitter if that kind of intrigues you. And he can also play shortstop, so, a little positional versatility. I'm a big fan of that. So yeah, if that's something you're interested in, go and grab Odubel. This Juan Lagares card has good, he's not one of my budget guys, but he has really good defense too, if you ever need a defensive guy in center field. Right field doesn't have many budget options at all. I went with this Avisail Garcia card just because he has a really strong arm. for right field. I think that could help you out quite a bit. He also has really good contact and some, a little bit of power versus righties that you can look towards. But the big card that I really like is this Domingo Santana card. He's a very solid hitter across the board. He's not a great defender, and he doesn't have great speed or anything, but he has a good amount of pop versus both sides and decent contact versus both sides. So if that's a guy that you want to look towards, go ahead. There really aren't a ton of great options in right field, so you might be kind of playing platoons and patchwork for most of your time in right field, or you could go and grab one of those center fielders or left fielders, stick them in right field, and see how they do. For starting pitcher, there are a couple in these programs that I think are pretty decent. This Cingrani card is very interesting. He's a lefty that has really good deltas between his fastball and his breaking pitches. Not so much with his changeup, but with the curveball and slider, he could be deadly. Again, that slider could be really, really deadly against left-handed hitters. He also has very good per-nines. And then also this Chassin card. He has, he's kind of like a left-handed version of that Cingrani in the fact that he has decent deltas, he has a decent changeup, doesn't throw super hard or anything, but good per-nines to go along with him and everything. But those two are just kind of interesting. If you happen to do those programs, they might be worth picking up. But really, there are a couple silver starting pitchers that are excellent that you need to pick up immediately. One of them is this Luis Castillo card. He is a flamethrower. He doesn't have terrible per-nines. Not great, but not terrible. But he is just an absolute flamethrower, and he also has really good off-speed stuff, good changeup, good slider. This is a pure stuff guy that I think can get a lot of strikeouts for you just because his stuff is going to be kind of overwhelming for your opponents. Another guy, obviously, Garrett Richards, another kind of stuff guy, runs it up 97, 98, good curveball, good slider, good changeup. His per-nines are probably the worst out of all the guys that I'm about to talk about, but I think you can, just because of his stuff, I think you can kind of work past him. Another solid option is the 78 overall Max Scherzer, 70 hit per 9, 83 K per 9. So very solid per 9s for a 78 overall. Not terrible stuff. 94 mile an hour fastball. Can probably run it up 95, 96, and good break on his off-speed stuff. Very intriguing option there. This Matt Moore card is, I don't really care for his pitch selection that much, but his stuff and his per 9s are very good, and him being a lefty could add some value to that rotation that you're trying to build. He's not that expensive. You can pick him up for 425 Stubbs. Need to be a very solid option. And another one, the final one, where is he? Here he is. I don't know how to say this guy's last name, or really his first name. Dinelson Lamet? Or LeMay? Is it LeMay or Lamet? I don't know. But I'm really intrigued by this guy because his per 9s are kind of along the lines of the other guys that I've mentioned, but his stuff looks really intriguing. He has 99 break on that slider. He has 96 mile an hour fastball with an 88 mile an hour changeup. I mean, this guy has really good stuff and good per 9s to go with it. For a 76 overall, this could be one of the more intriguing pitchers in MLB The Show this year. I'll be really interested to see how he does in real life. This isn't a guy that I've really followed before, but I'm going to follow him this year because if his stuff really plays like this, he could be dangerous for the Padres. A few program pitchers for the relief, for your relief corps. This Mike Dunn is a very solid card. He throws really hard. He has a good curveball, good slider, good per 9s, and he's a lefty. And lefties, as you'll kind of see, are pretty tough to come by whenever you're trying to build a budget squad. So he could be a very valuable piece for your bullpen. This Al Albuquerque has insane per 9s and insane stuff. The only problem is his pitch selection really isn't all that good. He might be a guy that you can only throw against righties. I don't know if I would trust him against left-handed hitters. Danny Farquhar is another guy that has great per 9s, 102 K per 9, and he has much better pitch selection, and his stuff is also right up there with the Albuquerque with a 95 mile an hour four seam, a 91 mile an hour cutter, and this big slow curveball that can get a lot of swings and misses. So Danny Farquhar, very interesting option there. And then moving on to the market, Where are you? There you are. Okay, this is probably my favorite out of all the guys, the 97 or the 78 overall Josh Hader. Decent stuff, 95 mile an hour fastball. His breaking stuff needs a little bit of work, but you know, not a terrible slider, not a terrible changeup, but that 97 hitting K per 9 is just too good to pass up. Tommy Kahnle is a right-handed option that you could go with. Decent per 9s, great stuff. 97 to 98 mile an hour fastball, decent breaking stuff, very solid. Who are some other guys? Let's keep going with the lefties. Buchter, fantastic per 9s once again. Might have to figure out, he might be a lefty only type guy, but because of the lack of changeup, but you know, you do what you got to do. And who was my other lefty? Oh yeah, Jerry Blevins. Jerry Blevins has really solid per 9s. His stuff kind of plays down though. Like he's not going to throw all that hard. This guy is all about speed change, location, and moving fastballs. Never throw his four-seam fastball. You're always going to be sinker, change up, curveball with this guy. But if you hit your spots with him, he can be an effective guy, and he gives you another lefty that you can throw to righties or lefties. So if you're running a budget squad, I think Jerry Blevins is kind of a necessary guy to have on your team just because of the lack of lefties right now. A few others here. Keone Kela, good per 9s, and he's got that fastball that runs up there to 97 with a curveball and a changeup. Good option there. A few others. Kyle Barraclough, where is he at? Yeah, here he is. Great per 9s. Great stuff, and they also gave him a changeup this year. Last year, I don't think he had one, which makes him a much better option than he has been in years past. So he might be a guy to think about throwing on the squad. And then finally, you have the flashback. Where is he, a closer? Yeah, the flashback, Ernesto Frieri. Once again, great per 9s, 106 K per 9. Solid velo, solid secondary offerings, and yeah. So any of those guys I think would be good budget options for the bullpen. And guys, that is going to do it for this video. I hope you found this helpful. I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, if you did, please leave a like. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. But until then, peace.